Kurt, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Will. Thanks for having me.
So I want to get your backstory first, kind of set the stage for everybody. How did you get into the wellness world personally?
I think wellness has always been a part of my life since I was a teenager, right? I think, my dad had really gotten me into sports, but also wellness overall. And so I remember even from age like 13 being so meticulous about my diet, exercise, sleep, and kind of hacking that. And that was always like a backdrop for my life, despite, I went on and worked for NASA after college and ultimately what happened was I came back to like, okay, what could I do next in my career and how could I integrate wellness into what I wanted to do? And that was building the Vital Proteins brand, which I think somewhat revolutionized the idea of wellness and lifestyle and consumer product goods and really building a platform around wellness.
Yeah, well, we have to unpack a few of those things because I don't
Yeah.
want to sleep on the fact that you worked for NASA. So what did you do for NASA?
So I graduated school as an aerospace engineer, did my master's work in astrophysics, and so my responsibility there was mission planning for rendezvous and proximity operations. Like if you guys are familiar with what's going on with the space station now and SpaceX going there and trying to rescue the astronauts, right? There's a critical part of a mission where two spacecrafts are coming together and docking and
Mhm.
whether it's crew transfer or whatnot. But so my specialty was flying spacecrafts in that close proximity to each other and coming up with ways of flying the space shuttle and then training astronauts how to fly the space shuttle to do that. So I did that for about 5 years at NASA.
Fascinating. I mean, I did not know that about you. So what's the view? I mean, you're obviously out of that space for lack of a better word. You're out of that industry now, but what's the industry, if you know, I'm sure friends and former colleagues, what's their view of someone like Elon coming in with SpaceX? Very different than NASA being kind of the monolithic the major innovator of space exploration up until now.
Yeah. Yeah, what's great is Elon has made this into an entrepreneurial venture with agility. One of the exciting things about space is that pioneering the edge of space and going out there and exploring. It's the sense of adventure and that entrepreneurial culture that Elon brings to it is what you really need to be an explorer, right?
Mhm.
The government is good at developing large programs, but you know, along the way they've gotten to a point where it's a government run program, and some of the entrepreneurial spirit is gone, and you're somewhat limited by what can be done by
Mhm.
budgets, by administrations, by other things. And so if you go out there and do it yourself, chances are you can achieve a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean that's how I see it as a complete, not an expert, obviously in space
Yeah.
exploration, is that normally innovation and entrepreneurial energy and spirit, innovation is a good thing, right? For any
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah. One thing I left NASA with the hopes of maybe creating a company that could eventually bring me back to NASA because I thought it could be a more space exploration, more entrepreneurial. And yeah, I've gotten a chance to tour SpaceX a few years ago, and I said, this is how I would have done it, right? It's
I love it.
that cutting edge technology and an attitude of grit, right?
Yeah, I love it. All right, then you mentioned being a founder, CEO of Vital Proteins. You're absolutely right. You've done so much for that company and shifted the entire space and conversations for the average consumer out there. I mean, what was growing that business like? I mean, you did an amazing job.
I hate to say it was a rocket ship, but it was. That's kind of how we describe it because, Vital got out there and I created a whole new category of basically ingestible collagen and doing it at an efficacious dose, right? Up until that point, collagen had existed in the market, but no one was really looking at what the efficacious dose was. And
Mhm.
there was things out there taking a capsule of 1 gram or 2 gram shots or something like that. And really, had come across this research in a publication that really talked about glycine and its essential role in collagen synthesis in your body. And I was really on my own wellness journey trying to figure out how to optimize my recovery and
Mhm.
realizing, having done a lot of, functional workouts, you always think about your muscles, but rarely are you thinking about your joints and tendons, which can become some of the limiting factors as you age. And I was looking at how can I repair these, and it turned out that you really needed 20, 40 grams of collagen a day to maintain your overall wellness. And that suddenly became a platform not only for just consuming a unique amino acid profile of a protein, but it became a platform for overall wellness
Mhm.
because, yeah, as we learned, from a digestive health to many different, we call them different pillars of wellness: sleep, recovery, anti-aging, longevity. All of these were aspects of people's perceived
Mhm.
views of wellness, and we kind of captured that market through a lot of our marketing, and we're in the right place at the right time as well with Instagram and influencers and
Mhm.
talking about it, and it the brand blew up really in about 5 6 years. So I kind
Mhm.
of created that brand. 2014 was our first year. Sold it to Nestle in 2020,
Wow.
and we had gone from zero to a half a billion in revenue. Or sorry, half a billion in revenue. So
Yeah, and I remember back in the day, I probably was 2014, 2015, back in the day where it was Paleo FX in Austin, Texas. You guys had a booth, probably really early, right?
that was it. That was the first thing we did. So you and I may have talked then, right?
We probably did. We were walking
Yeah,
around that event center, the Palmer Event Center, right? And
yeah,
yeah, those are the good old days. But you probably had no clue in that time that it would blow up from 2014 to just a few years later,
no,
selling it to Nestle.
yeah, yeah. That was April 2014. That was our first year, first event we ever had done, and I just wanted to get the word out there, talking to everyone, individual like yourself, and kind of educating them on what I saw this category going to. And yeah, had no, I knew I was onto something, and I knew there was a lot of momentum behind it. But that was kind of one of the
Mhm.
pivotal moments for the brand. It was
Yeah.
because I talked to really influential people who could understand what I was trying to talk about, and then they became evangelists for the brand.
Yeah. If you think about it too, I'm sure you probably thought about it, but going back to 2014 and the people in that room, and now I look at many people in that room today, brands that have had huge momentum in the space. I think of Epic was there early
Epic,
on.
yeah, Epic was there, yeah.
Mark Sisson with Primal Kitchen was
Mark,
there. Yeah.
Melissa Hartwig with Whole
Yes.
30,
Whole 30,
right?
Melissa, right. These are just, we were,
On it was there, right? There,
yeah.
yeah.
Wow. I mean, game-changing brands and people behind those brands, all in that one room in 2014. Who would have thought, right?
And that was all coming out of the paleo movement, right?
Yeah.
And the early keto movement. So
Yeah. Absolutely. So you sold it. What year did you sell Vital? You said 2020 or?
it's a multi-tranche sale. So June of 2020, and then completed the sale in February 22. So about a little over 2 years ago.
Got it. What has that been like? I mean, it's selling this baby that you grew, and then this new venture that we're going to talk about today. Well, what's that transition look like for you?
It's interesting. Like I said, my whole life has been based on wellness, and I created this Vital Proteins brand, and really realizing that this was real alignment with who I was. And when you build it and it's very successful, and then you sell it, of course, there's this like, what next, right? What am I going to do next? Was that my identity? And really just keeping an alignment with wellness and kind of being a wellness innovator, and maintaining my evangelism to living a healthy life. That's kind of what I've done. And the other thing is, like, you build this team of amazing people. Overall, I think by the end, Vital was maybe 700 employees, and it takes you years to build that team and that cohesion and stuff. And I've been fortunate. A lot of the leadership team from Vital came over to my new venture, which is Starshot Ventures, which is building wellness brands. And having that team back together really is dynamic and powerful to create new innovations in wellness. So
Yeah. So you don't need to be doing this, but you mentioned wellness innovation. You're only gonna be backing concepts and, science-backed things, ways that we can elevate somebody's life. What took you specifically into, let's just say mushrooms, first of all, like to sort of the science and the medicinal aspects of mushrooms?
well, if you look at mushrooms overall, right? It's probably one of the largest kingdoms on this planet, right? Animals and plants, and somewhat like the oceans, somewhat untapped on the functional medicinal side of the benefits. And so if we look at all the different species of mushrooms, my thought process was like in the early formation of this industry, you had brands like Goli and other ones. They're promoting ashwagandha and reishi and other types of mushrooms for health benefits, and even Four Sigmatics as well. I think Four Sigmatics was at
Yeah, Taro,
PaleoFX as well,
he
right?
was there. Yeah, yeah.
And yeah. And the entire mushroom itself, right? There's some compound inside that mushroom that's providing that health benefit. And so I got really curious, like if you look at all all aspects of wellness, whether it's gut health, brain health, longevity, immune system, um, there's some ingredient or some compound within these mushrooms that are providing that health benefit. And I said, could we take this industry and go from this like earthy mushrooms, which may not apply to everyone, into a more medicinal compound where we can actually extract the compound from the
Mhm.
mushroom and create a new ingredient that has all of these health and wellness benefits. And so that's kind of where what with one of our brands, we're trying to create these new compounds that have all these different health benefits. So
Yeah. So this main compound that has so much exciting science around it is AHCC. For people that don't know, what is AHCC?
the official name is active hexose correlated compound, and it's really an extraction of a compound from the shiitake mushrooms. And that compound has shown a significant impact to your immune system, right? This brand came to kind of concept in 2021, 2022, near the end of COVID. And when I look at your immune system, I'm looking at optimizing your overall wellness, right? And your immune system is one of those components, just like with collagen, we're overlooking your tendons and ligaments and joints as part of your overall physical fitness or your recovery. Immune system, in my view, is actually one of those aspects of our health and wellness that should be addressed and it should be maintained. You should be rejuvenating, you should be activating it. A lot of times we think of the immune system as our last line of defense against an external threat of a virus, a bacteria, or some other disease. And really, if you maintain your immune system, you're really looking at all these different aspects of wellness, digestive health, inflammatory response. And these can really help regulate stress. They can help regulate cortisol. And so AHCC is kind of this first thing of activating your immune system and maintaining it on a daily basis to give you that edge in wellness.
Fascinating. So is it mainly just in shiitake mushrooms, or are there other mushrooms that have these compounds as well?
Well, that's what we're looking at. Yeah. So I think many of the mushrooms out there have a compound, not just for immune system, but there might be for mental clarity or different things that we're kind of with this one brand that we're developing. It's called She, which actually came from two different names, right? Initially, our first compound is this AHCC, which is derived from the shiitake mushroom, so SHI is that. But it's also I kind of if you think of Qi like the Chinese saying, it's like the boundless energy of life. And so if you look at
Mm,
energy and our existence and wellness, so Qi and Qi are kind of like a play on words for that. But we're developing this platform to go beyond just immune regulation or immune um, activation and looking at all different aspects of wellness and how we can find these compounds that actually benefit your overall wellness.
fascinating. And these compounds are really popular in countries like Japan. Is that right?
Yeah. HCC is originally derived in Japan. It's a pharmaceutical grade compound. Last summer, we were at this medical conference, and there's probably 40 or 50 doctors preventing clinical research on the HCC compound, and really strong clinical, like human trials that they're doing that show the benefits of HCC, not just from immune, but also treating in diseases, right? Some of the Japanese studies show regression of Lyme disease in 14 weeks. Taking a certain dose, on a daily amount for 14 weeks shows complete remission of Lyme disease, cancers, other things, right? So the Japanese market is doing a lot of research on this from a pharmaceutical perspective, but in the United States, it's permitted as a dietary supplement.
Got it. So you mentioned chronic Lyme or Lyme disease as a whole. That is compelling. You mentioned cancer, fighting cancer in certain trials. Any other areas that are being looked at as far as what this is good for, as far as the immune system is concerned?
So what mostly interests me on this is just your overall wellness, right? So if you look at some of the benefits and some of the research, it's actually showing reduced inflammation, right? So
Hmm.
if you're maintaining a wellness routine, inflammation is actually part of the healing process, right? But actually, after your workouts or after your daily activities, we're used to taking protein. We're used to taking energy before or protein after. We're used to maybe taking some sleep supplements. We're not looking at like this overall reduction in inflammation, right? Which
Hmm.
happens as we exert our bodies. And so that's one area that's really interesting to look at because it's actually activating a lot of your immune response, and it's actually helping reduce inflammation in that activation.
Hmm.
And then if you think about your gut health, right, your gut is your main source of, it's predominantly your immune system, right? And so if you're actually able to activate your immune system in your gut, you're going to have a healthier gut. You're going to get better nutrition as well. So
Hmm. What has it been like getting AHCC in the United States? You mentioned it's treated as almost like a medicine in Japan, a sort of immunotherapy. I'm assuming it took quite a bit. It was quite the feat to get it to the United States. What was that journey like?
yeah, you have to register as a new dietary ingredient, and the FDA has to look at that. And we've probably spent probably a little over a year and a half, maybe 2 years on being able to bring it to market here as well. And it's been, now we're in that phase where I think the biggest hurdle is we have the ingredient here, but now it's education, right? Really getting out there and
Hmm.
educating people on the overall benefits of this. If you think about and I call them the first generation immune response. You have emergency and airborne, and people are taking those when you start feeling a cold, and people really need to start thinking about the regulation of their immune system, the rejuvenation of their immune system, and maintaining it because it's really getting people out there and say, okay, I need to start thinking about this on a daily basis.
Hmm.
But why, right? Think about your immune system's responsible for energy as well, right? You have a healthy immune system that's working properly, your energy is going to be synergistic with that immune system. Sleep, um, improving sleep quality. So
Hmm.
in a way, with like Vital, we were talking about like how collagen. We used to use this tagline said, we are collagen, meaning Vital is collagen, but also your whole body. Most of your body's collagen, right? All the
Mm.
structures.
Yeah.
And we're trying to educate people on collagen's a necessary benefit for overall wellness. And now, if we go deeper into that premise, your immune system
Hmm.
is probably one of your biggest um, biosystems for your overall wellness, right?
Hmm.
Uh, so,
Yeah. Well, and as you kind of referenced, the anti-inflammatory effect, the way it's modulating the immune system to lower these inflammatory pathways, and inflammation is a product of the immune system. So while certainly there are people that, as cold and flu season comes around, or people just are prone to being run down and having these viruses and colds and flus and things like that. But beyond that, it's the ubiquity of inflammation and it being the
yeah,
commonality between just about every health problem. So, I mean, like you said, there's so much more, I'm assuming more exciting research that's going to be out in the scientific literature over the coming years of what compounds like this, and this specifically, can be in being an anti-inflammatory tool for, let's just say, autoimmune problems or neuroinflammatory issues come to mind.
yeah. If you think about it, we're used to taking vitamin C and vitamin E, right, as
Right.
like supplements that help with antioxidation, right, and cell damage. Really, a lot of that's happening is this if I say immunosenescence, right, is
Senescence,
people
yeah.
aging their immune system's tending to decline, and this can negatively impact your overall wellness, aging as well. And so this whole idea is that you have these antioxidants which are helping with longevity, but also HCC is actually helping. The bioactive compounds in are actually helping protect the cells from damage, right? By
Hmm.
oxidative stress. So in that way, it's acting as an antioxidant,
Hmm.
but it's also an important factor in aging and maintaining your peak wellness, right? Because
Hmm.
it's protecting the cells and it's also actually helping your immune system to rejuvenate itself
Hmm.
and slow the effects of aging on the immune system and really keeping individuals healthier and more active as they age.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the classic 12 hallmarks of aging, most of them either overtly have to do with inflammation or indirectly. You mentioned the senescent cells, these sort of zombie cells that accumulate as we age. They're zombies because they avoid cell death, apoptosis,
Yeah,
and they release these pro-inflammatory cytokines. So the effect of AHCC on downregulating these zombie cells is really exciting. So what's the
yeah,
research say? Like how much do we need to be taking to get these longevity, anti-inflammatory, immune supporting benefits?
yeah. So I almost feel so. There's different levels, right? So a lot of the clinical, if you're talking about disease treating, right, that 3 grams of AHCC a day is what's really showing to combat disease. But actually, if you're looking at daily immune support, which is helping you regulate your immune system and maintain your peak, really 500 milligrams of AHCC a day keeps that maintenance dose. And a lot of times, then, if you are fighting Lyme disease or you're fighting other diseases or you're having a cold, you can actually super activate your immune system to help actually get you into back to a state of improved quality of life. So,
And so do you see this as someone taking this like that this lower dose of 500 milligrams as a maintenance dose, right? Just sort of supporting the
yep,
immune system as a maintenance. And if we need to titrate it higher for feeling like a cold's coming on, or like you said, a specific health tool that you're using as a therapeutic intervention, you're titrating the dose up higher. Am I understanding that
right.
correctly?
That's correct. Yep, yep,
Okay, great. What's you mentioned with Vital and educating people about collagen, and you really were the brain, and your team was the movement getting the average Westerner to realize what collagen was, why they should care. It really was Vital that led that mass education. And you're going to do the same. You're doing the same with She and these compounds. Um, what's that? I mean, how does that? That's a massive undertaking to educate people, the modern American, for example, on these compounds that have so much exciting science, but they don't even know what they're missing out on.
right. Yeah, it's a big undertaking. I remember, and this is what we're doing with She is getting out there and talking to people. I think one thing I learned at that very first Paleo FX, I probably had over 100 conversations that were so inspiring, and hearing people's own story and own journey and what was important to them, what they were seeing the benefits. Getting out there and having those conversations is key. Talking to uh, innovators, people who have a platform for talking and educating people, and then also just going to these events like PaleoFX and just talking to people and getting that knowledge base up. And that's a slow curve. And then when you reach critical mass, you can do broader mass marketing as well and educating people about that benefit.
Mhm.
And you learn a lot in those conversations. Like it's not all unidirectional. Here's what we are. I learned so much. I mean, I was on the road for years, probably doing initially the first year like 30 events a year and then 100 events, and my team would have me go on a Friday to this one place, a Saturday here, a Sunday here, a midweek doing this. And that time to actually talk to people and find out what's important to them helps you understand what the benefit is of the product and helps you message even more and connect with
Mhm.
those consumers even more. So
Mhm. Absolutely. And when you look at someone, the immune component and the inflammatory component, I'm assuming in some ways this will be easier versus collagen. Or what do you think? I mean, do you think it's an easier communication topic or a more difficult?
I think it's more difficult because people, they had a perception of collagen beforehand, and our obstacles were teaching people how much collagen they need to take and how it fits into your overall wellness. Because a lot of people just perceive collagen as a beauty supplement, and we were all initially we were targeting like the CrossFit, the paleo, the keto type of person. Hey, here's a dairy-free
Mhm.
protein that provides all these recovery benefits. And when we learned that women, a lot of women were taking it for beauty because collagen by itself has an implied beauty benefit for skin,
Mhm.
hair, and nails. When we leaned into that, we found that we weren't resonating with the consumer, and so we pivoted then the last time into pure wellness. This is how your overall life can be improved
Mhm.
on many different aspects, whether it's digestive health or whatnot. Here with the immune system, people's initial response as an immune system is a crisis mode or a singular acute event that
Mhm.
is needs to be addressed. And what we have to teach people is that actually your immune system is one of your biosystems that's as important as any other, right? Gut health, brain health, your immune system, and we tend to neglect our immune system
Mhm.
and what it can all provide. If you think a lot of times when people have brain fog, right? That's probably immunoregulation. There might be things
Mhm.
going on with brain fog that's causing that. If you're feeling fatigued, right? A lot of times our immune system's so healthy, it's fighting off um, external pathogens. It's doing a great job, and we don't even notice it, right?
Mhm.
And but we may feel fatigued or low energy, and we can combat that by actually supplementing the immune system with things that it needs. And
Mhm.
AHCC is one of those compounds that can actually help
Mhm.
your immune system adapt and recover.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. I get that. And people are almost like you're right, the protein side of things, people get it. They need protein or the beauty, sort of the vanity of it. I guess people can buy in with collagen, but it's another
Yeah,
thing to get people to care. But the reality is it shows you how backwards our culture is in many ways, right? 'Cause we have an epidemic rise of immune mediated issues. When you look at inflammatory problems, what's killing most people, and most people are sick, it's autoimmune conditions, it's cancer, it's these heart disease, cardiometabolic issues. And but even beyond that, let's beyond just the diagnosable, just the low grade, you not feeling your best of that brain fog, that fatigue, that I just don't feel like I've lost that zest for life. It's inflammatory in most all cases. At least an inflammatory
hmm,
component to it. So if
yep.
we can bring in a tool like HCC to lower this inflammation, um, yeah, I have no doubt you can do it. You're the man for the job to get America behind this.
And if you think about it too, like I'm such a big post vital now. I don't think I got enough sleep at vital, but post vital, like I'm realizing sleep is like one of the biggest things in our lives that you get quality sleep, everything else falls into place, right?
Mhm.
Um, and AHCC has also been shown to help with sleep regulation, right? That's the time, the biggest moment for your immune system to be repaired and for it to go to work is when you're asleep. And the better quality sleep you get, the better your immune system repairs. And HCC is actually showing that it can actually boost the quality of your sleep while it's boosting your immune system, which is
Amazing.
really, really interesting.
Do we know
Yeah.
the mechanism of that? I mean, I'm thinking of as it's lowering inflammation, cortisol, this is just my thought, but you can tell me. As inflammation's
Hmm.
lower, cortisol is an endogenous immunosuppressant, so it's a natural anti-inflammatory, and it's cortisol is typically inversely proportional to melatonin. So my assumption is if we're lowering inflammation levels, balancing the immune system in that way, cortisol is going to naturally come down. That fight or flight responses come down, and the body can
Yeah.
be more in that parasympathetic. Is that what it's kind of pointing to? Do we know the mechanisms yet?
Yeah, I think if your immune system is well functioning, right,
Yeah.
it's going to promote better sleep. So as
Yeah.
long as you're giving all the building blocks to your immune system to be good, you get better sleep. And so I think overall, then it's, when you're sleeping right, your body's doing all this work, right? It's doing muscle repair, it's doing mental rejuvenation, it's really maintaining the energy
Yeah.
needed for your optimal self. And if you're giving it those building blocks and you're regulating your immune system, it's not out of control. Because I think we all have we'll have moments where cortisol goes way up or a lot of inflammation's happening, and we know those nights are restless nights. And if you can get that
Yeah.
more under control, the sleep the sleep is the amplification of the
Hmm.
repair of your body. And if you can maximize that, you're going to have you know a lot better immune system. You're going to have a lot better recovery, a lot more energy.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, I'm excited
Yeah.
to track that on telehealth patients and seeing REM and deep sleep come up. We track it typically on using bands and rings and things like that. And just beyond the tracking, people will just notice this as they're
Yeah.
getting in these deeper states of sleep and their body's less in that fight or flight inflammatory response. What's the taste like? I mean, take people through the routine, the protocol, and what that's like taking it.
Yeah, it's just capsules, right? So, that the daily products is really just taking 2 capsules a day, right?
Amazing.
Take it any time of day because right, you're maintaining regulation of your immune system. You're taking 2 capsules a day. That's the 500 milligram dose, right? And then on days when you're feeling not your best or you are fighting some type of pathogen or you're run down, you can boost it to the 6 capsules a day, which is the 3 grams. So
Got it.
it's
Got it.
pretty straightforward taking it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you said with or without food, it doesn't matter.
Nope. Yeah, with or without food. So it's the key is that you're taking it regularly. You do have to take it regularly on a daily basis to maintain that.
Mhm. Got it. All right, my friend. As you know, the podcast is called The Art of Being Well. At the end of every episode, we have your art of being well, where I just pick your brain on different things. I'm so excited to get to ask you these questions. What is the worst tasting healthy food that you eat? It tastes freaking disgusting, but you'll still have it because of some nutrition benefit.
Oh my gosh. I hate to say it, but vital proteins.
What? I
No.
love it.
It's so funny. Someone told me like, Kurt, I don't know how you did it. Like your product, the product's good, but I think we've all acclimated to the taste of the product.
Yeah.
I take it in the vital performance protein side of it. When you take it raw in a glass of water, you can kind of taste it, right? But
Yeah, yeah.
I love the benefit of taking it every day.
I,
And
I love it. And you guys
I-
had for a while like some like flavored ones that for the people out there that,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
That
we had the
that's
flavored ones. We still do. Like at Costco, there's the chocolate one.
yeah, yeah.
We had the Vital Performance line. There's a whole bunch of different flavors and stuff like that. So
I love that the founder of Vital Protein, said his least favorite thing is having collagen. Well, that just shows you the benefits behind it. You just
yeah,
get it in,
yeah,
suck it up, Americans. Suck
yeah.
it up, world.
It's so good. Yeah, it's so good that like when you can actually see the benefit and feel the benefit, you're like, I need this every day. It's almost your body adapts to it and craves it. So
Yeah. What's a place that you mentioned flying all to these events, building these brands over the years? What is a place that's on like like under the radar? It's people don't know about it, but you want to shed light on your bucket list from a travel standpoint.
I mean, one of my most favorite places in the world. Well, I'll say two. I love cold climates, and probably the three favorite places in the world that I've been is Iceland. It's rugged outdoors. It's epic beauty. The beginning of the year, I went to Svalbard, which is basically the North Pole. I did that in the beginning of or the middle of February. Um, so it's 24 hours of darkness and really rugged terrain. And then New Zealand's on the other side. And I think New Zealand's great from a wellness perspective because they're producing a lot of great quality food, great quality supplements as well,
Mhm.
and it's just rugged nature again too.
Yeah.
I love rugged nature. So
I love it. Love rugged nature. Me too. Me too. I've never, my wife, it's on her and I's bucket list to go to Montana, which it's not maybe as rugged as that, but it's still like American rugged. And
yeah,
I've never been, but it's definitely on my list.
Bozeman I heard is beautiful, big sky
Yeah.
country, right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So on the sort of holiday self-care topic, what's a place you haven't been to in all of your travels that's still on your bucket list?
Uh, I haven't been to Australia,
Wow.
so I'm surprised too. Yeah, I have
Yeah.
not been there, and that's on a place where I think great great outdoor nature, but also wellness and
Mhm.
not too touristy. So
Yeah. You're in South Florida now. How long have you been there? I know
yep.
lots of people prior to COVID, but definitely during COVID, a lot of people, friends of mine, colleagues of ours, friends of ours, went flocked there from California and other places. When did you end up in South Florida?
I was here at the beginning of 2019.
Got it.
So pre-pandemic, I think it was a really cold winter between 2018 and 2019. And I was in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, for New Year's, and it was like 30 below and, snow and darkness. And I'm like, where is there one place in the United States that's 75 degrees and sunny? And Miami was the only place. And I'm like, I left Jackson Hole a little early and came to Miami. It was like, why? And I hadn't spent a lot of time in Miami. I was like, why didn't I move here earlier? Like, because
Wow.
it's a tropical paradise. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Coconut Grove. I mean, that whole area is so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Mark Sisson's down there, I think, last time I heard.
Mark's down here as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many entrepreneurs that are down here. Mark Sisson, Peter Hall from RX Bar, who just launched David, myself, Chris Hunter from Koya. So there's a lot of CPG brands that are moving down here, a
Yeah.
lot of health and wellness. So it's
You
pretty
know,
exciting.
Jason and Colleen Walkup, the long time friends of mine, they Mind Body Green. You should connect with them. They're great.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 Vital worked with them in the early days.
Oh
So
yeah, for sure. No, that you guys
yeah.
sponsored all the revitalizers that we were at every year. The and
Yeah.
who else? Energy Bits is down, the founder of Energy Bits, Catherine. There's yeah, so many people in wellness are in South
Yeah.
Florida right now.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah,
It wasn't that way in 2019, but it's becoming that way now. So
yeah, for sure. Speaking of rugged beauty, nature, what's your favorite outdoor sound? It's probably a strange question, but like thinking of sensorial nature medicine,
yeah.
what's your favorite sound from nature?
Yeah. I think it's the silence and the birds, right? And going to New Zealand, the birds and the bird songs are completely different. You're walking on a path. I do a lot of hiking. I probably when I was in New Zealand earlier this year, I probably hiked 8, 9 hours a day. The birds are not like North America or any other place I've heard in the world. Their songs and their notes are just so intriguing and it's so peaceful. It's like doing meditation and
It
listening to
is.
them chirp and getting to know who they are, getting to know what type of birds there are. So
So cool. I have the Merlin
yeah.
app. I'm a super nerd when it comes to this stuff. You have to download the Merlin app, and I'm sure there's other ones,
Okay.
but it will like pick up on all this myriad of birds and will. No, I'm not, I don't know. I know a few, but it's taught me so much on sounds of birds that we just take for granted. And all this stuff, I call it God art because it really is. It's just like this art that's there that we take for granted, but we know the medicinal aspects of forest bathing and you taking in nature with all of your senses. Talk about immune system support. Take your
Oh
AHCC
yeah.
and then do some forest bathing. That's like great for your microbiome.
It's so, and if you sit in that forest quietly and let the animals around you get comfortable with you being there, it just comes alive, right? And
Yeah.
you can hear them talking to each other and communicating and that New Zealand, there's a bird called a pewaukee, like all their names are different, pewaukee walkie or something like that, but the sounds are just so magical because you haven't really heard them before.
Yeah. Staying on that topic, what's your favorite scent from nature? Like the smell of it.
I like the earthy, like the moss, right? That
Mm.
earthy, grounded smell where you know that there's like fertility in the soil and there's like processes that are going on
Hmm.
and it just feels alive to me,
Yeah. If you
especially
had,
on a cold morning, right?
yeah, oh my gosh, so good. Yeah, I live in Pennsylvania. It's no New Zealand, but there's something magical about it and unchanged, And I think of how nature connects us to all the thousands and thousands of generations before us too. I think, okay, so much of modernity has changed the landscape of life, like our buildings, the way we transportation, the way our phones, technology has changed life. But when you look at nature, there's something connecting us to all humans before us that they would have seen exactly what we see.
Yeah, yeah. And there's so much knowledge there in
Yes.
nature that the ultimate program that is being created in front of us, everything has a purpose, right? And
Hmm.
you know, just going back, like there's so many benefits and so many, just the color that I was just talking about this the other day. It's like we live on a planet with a blue sky and a yellow sun, and these colors are so beautiful, but it provides, when you see a blue sky day, it provides a dopamine response in your body that makes your overall wellness improve, right? Just that
Mhm.
color. We live on a
Yeah.
planet that has a blue sky. I'm always dumbfounded by it. It seems so unreal, right?
Yeah. Well, and I've seen studies that show that even pictures of nature help to reset your circadian rhythm. Like if you're traveling across time zones, if you can't get out in nature, which is obviously very therapeutic to reset that circadian rhythm and you're not jet lagged so much, for example. But even pictures of nature, that's how
Yeah.
powerful nature is. Just a photo, just a photo.
That's one thing I do. So like jet lag, I do travel a lot. The first thing I do when I get into a new location is just go outside and walk for an hour or two to help reset my circadian rhythm, to help get my body moving and get acclimated to where I'm at and what time zone I'm in.
Great tip. That's actually a good next
Yeah.
question for your art of being well. Any other pro tips that you have to help with jet lag for those travelers?
Yeah. I haven't fully practiced. I told myself I would do this, but you know, sleep is always important. Just get used to the time zone you're in. But I also think like you need you can't be a superhero. I think you need to if you're crossing a 9 hour time zone difference, take budget 2 days to recover, right?
Mhm.
You can push your body, but I don't. I'm not doing that yet. That's in my mind of something I want to do. Just take 2 days and just rest and relax and work out and then get back into it. But
I love it. Well, we're calling you out now. Now you have to do it. Millions
I
of people
know.
are listening to you say this. If you had to eat, let's remove health benefits for a moment, kind of suspend logic and facts. But if you had to eat one food for the rest of your life purely on taste alone, what would that food be?
I think what I eat so much of every day. I kind of eat a paleo lifestyle. I mean, I'm just going to say a smash burger. I love, but a bison smash burger. I love
I love
bison.
it.
So some type of protein based,
I, perfect answer.
delicious.
That would be a high on my list for sure. Some
Yeah.
sort of grass-fed, yeah, bison. Yeah, I love that. What do you have on your burger? Like, what's the perfect smash burger?
It's a pickle. It's a little bit of cheese. Like the bison is usually seasoned a little bit with salt and pepper, maybe some special sauce, and just but plain and simple. Like
Yeah.
I joke around with people like I don't like a lot of vegetables on my protein. I don't like what is it? I don't like eating what my food eats. You don't
It,
we should not cross tiers. So it's like if I'm eating beef, that's fine. If I'm eating vegetables, that's fine, but I shouldn't eat.
yeah. It's funny that we talked about Epic and back to 2014. Those guys now went to Force of Nature. Have you tried their bison, their ancestral blend? Bison, it's
I
really
do.
good. Yeah.
I didn't realize those were the same guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I eat every day, right? I eat Force of Nature. I subscribe to their mail order delivery and
Yeah.
have that almost
It's
regularly. Yeah,
the same group of people. I had them on the podcast, and
that's great.
they are such, you mentioned being a missionary, like that's them for regenerative ag. So they want
It's
regenerative.
great.
Yeah, just you all are cut from the same.
Yeah,
Well,
I would love to get up there and talk to those guys, and because they're in
yeah.
Montana too, right?
Yeah, I forget where. I think
Or
Texas. They're
Wyoming.
in Texas right now. They're in
Got it.
Texas right now.
Okay.
They may be in more than one place, but I know they've invited me a few times and they've been down in Texas. So I'll connect you. I'll connect you guys.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. Our first lot of trade shows we were always right next to those guys. So
Yeah, exactly. It really was.
yeah.
What's a wellness myth that you would like to dispel? Like anything out there that you listen to or hear that you want to settle the clear the air?
I mean, for me, I think, a lot of people feel like doing more is better. If I just did a little bit more, I'd be more healthy, right? And I think the best thing, I kind of use this phrase, do the ordinary extra, meaning
Love that.
it's the routine and the daily habits. It's not the overachieving and the pushing the limits. It's like if you are living a healthy life every day, you're getting out and you're working, you're walking, you're eating healthy, and just doing that ordinary stuff on a daily basis, right? So not overdoing it.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
If I could get some of my telehealth patients to get that, I mean, that's so true. What you take AHCC, obviously, you're taking collagen two supplements there. Are there any other supplements, like maybe two more that you are like are just non-negotiables for you?
I'm doing protein, I'm doing creatine, right? I love the benefits of creatine and protein supplementation every day. And the other thing is electrolytes. Like the other thing I'm kind of hacking here is you think of like electrolytes as basically thirst quenching or hydrating your body. I'm
Mhm.
actually looking at it from a perspective of blood volume and
Mm,
how much like what is my overall efficiency based on my blood volume to pump oxygen and the electrolytes. I've been working with a cardiologist. The electrolytes are the way of increasing blood volume to
mhm.
increase your overall cardiovascular health. So I'd say
Yeah,
those creatine and electrolytes. Yeah.
great, great tip. Any specific brand that you like for either one of those?
I use Thorne for the creatine, and I use Element for the electrolytes.
Great. You mentioned hacking. What's the latest like non-food, non-supplement biohack or therapy or tool that you use for your life?
Besides doing the 2 hours of walking a day, I try to get 15,000 steps in. I try to get an hour at the gym every day. I think the biggest thing, people have talked sauna cold plunge therapy, like just even from an immune regulation as well. Those
Mhm.
things are just phenomenal. I do the high heat. 'Cause I'm trying for the cardiovascular health. I'm trying for the overall benefits. So I do like 190 degrees to
Okay,
195 degrees. I do 3 cycles of that, 12 minutes. And then I'll take an intermediate step and then do a cold plunge for like 3 minutes. And trying to get that 3 or 4 days a week is great as
great.
well.
So it's not an infrared sauna, it's like a traditional barrel sauna.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it.
Heat. I
High
get the
heat.
benefit from the heat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
High
yeah.
heat.
Got that heat shocking proteins
Because
and yeah,
because I know that your body is trying to detox with the infrared and you're
mm,
getting deep healing benefits from the infrared. I'm actually trying to train my vascular system, keeping it
yeah,
flexible and trying to dilate and contract.
yeah. So can you go back to the protocol? You take 190, 195. You're doing that for how long? And then are you going straight into the cold and just contrast therapy
No,
or okay.
no. So I'll do 12. I'll try to get that first session. I try to do up to 15 minutes, depending on if I can tolerate it. And then I'll do that 3 times. So I'll do 15 or 12 minutes. Later on, it's harder to do 15. So you're doing 12, 12, and 12, so 36 minutes. But in between then, I'll come out of the sauna. I'll let my body regulate its temperature. I might just go into a regular pool that's like
Hmm.
at, 70, 80 degrees,
Got
get
it.
my body regulated, then go into a cold plunge because I don't want that concussive force of your
Yeah,
cardiovascular system contracting and stuff like that.
yeah.
And then the first time I do a cold plunge, I go in gently, feet for 30 seconds, or like up to the knee for 30 seconds, up to the waist for 30 seconds, up to the neck then, and I'll sit there for 3 minutes, and then I'll eventually get to 5 minutes on the last round. So
Got it. What temperature do you keep the cold plunge at? Are you tracking that or?
yeah, if I'm consistent, I'm doing this 3, 4, 5 times a week, I'll get that down to like 40 degrees.
Hmm.
If I'm inconsistent, it's more like 48 degrees.
Hmm.
Uh, when I was at the North Pole, or at Svalbard, we did sauna and then we went right into the Arctic Ocean, and it was like 28 degrees, and that was tolerable because I
Yeah,
had been doing it for so long.
yeah.
And icebergs are hitting you on the back, and
Oh my God.
the water's highly salinated, right? So it's like below freezing. But I just did cold plunge here. I just got back, but I hadn't been doing it regularly. I was in France, and uh, I could barely tolerate 50 degrees. So
Yeah, isn't it
it's
crazy how
conditioning.
conditioning
Yeah,
exactly? But I think you highlight a
yeah,
certain point that it's applicable to so many different things within wellness. Like it's good and desirable to meet your body where you're at, and you might have been somewhere like weeks or months ago, but it's okay to meet your body where it's at and then condition and titrate low and
yep,
slow, right?
yeah. And you realize that it's the conditioning that allows you to do that, 36, 37, 38 degrees because your body gets used to it, and it's just doing that on a regular basis, and you can
Yeah,
adapt to it.
build up time and build up
Yep.
temperature. And you don't have to be like, you're not trying to impress anybody. And you can actually do more harm, right? It's like you don't want to stress your body unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you do that, sometimes if you're doing cold plunge with other people, they're going in at 36 degrees, and you're like, well, I can't do that. Well, no, it's they've been regular about it,
Hmm.
and it only takes 2 or 3 weeks for your body to adapt, and it's really easy to do go right into that colder temperature. And I can sometimes do it for like 10, 12 minutes, and
Right.
but if I stop, it's like being at the gym. If I stop going,
Hmm.
I can't go back to my previous weight. It takes some time to get back to it.
Yeah. I have an existential question for you. If you were able to live to the age of 100 and keep either the mind or the body of a 30-year-old for the last 70 years of your life, which would you want?
That's a tough question. I want both, but of course, everyone's going to say that. I'd, I'd probably I'd probably keep my mind, right? I think that's the form of interaction. You know, under times of stress, right? You become forgetful, and that's always frustrating as well. So I think I'd
Mhm.
rather have my mind. So
Yeah. That's
maybe,
a
then
tough.
maybe I'll figure out how to do the wellness side, the physical side.
Yeah. What's your favorite restaurant in the world? And when you're there, what do you order? Do you even eat out? Let's ask that. But if you do, what's your favorite
Yeah,
restaurant in the world?
I do. I mean, I probably like a third of the time, right? I'd say my favorite restaurant, but I'm opening up a restaurant in LA, but my
Amazing.
favorite restaurant is Surf Club in Surfside, Miami, right?
Amazing.
Uh, it's a Keller restaurant, but when I go there, I order a New York strip steak. It's a Wagyu steak, and it's just they do it so well.
Right. How do you get your steak? What's the way to do it?
Medium. I do it medium. Sometimes medium rare. Depend. If it's a fillet, I'll do medium rare. If it's a strip, I'll do medium. And I never really finish it. I'll eat like a third to half of it and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
and just straight up steak, nothing else.
Got it. What's this restaurant in LA? I want to hear about it.
It's called Chez Mia, and eating out a lot at restaurants, I like. It's very hard to maintain like healthy eating habits, right? And so I wanted to create a restaurant. I love like Mediterranean diet. Usually I'll always, even though I talk about surf club and steak, that's kind of a treat. I'll usually always go out and have fish. I'll have raw fish or I'll have sea bass and keep everything really clean. And in LA, I couldn't always find that light Mediterranean healthy food. And so I kind of created a restaurant concept that is basically like the south of France, and it's really healthy ceviches. Yeah, it's funny in the food industry. You have to teach people. It's like I'm going through as we're setting up the thing. Is like, no, we're not using canola oil. Like you use olive oil for this, and it's like, no, you can't cook with olive oil. We got to use avocado oil or other oils, right? Teaching them about the heat differences of oils and try to maintain a completely super healthy
Mhm.
menu with super healthy ingredients, fresh. We're flying stuff in, uh, fresh sea bass, things like that. But the idea is I want to be able to go to this 2 or 3 nights a week and not feel heavy and feel light and fresh and maintain my wellness routine, which is healthy eating. So
Yeah. Well, when people eat that way, I mean, like you said, you feel light and fresh. You notice such a difference. So many people, all they know is like the fatigue, bloated, foggy,
yeah,
hangry,
yeah,
irritable afterwards. That's not normal. It may be common, but not
yeah.
normal. When does it
And
open?
the other thing I did, we're opening about 2 weeks.
Oh,
So
wow.
I think we're
Perfect
just finishing up
timing.
some things. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, mid October. So around maybe October 10th or so. So, but
Which part of LA is it in?
It's in West Hollywood. It's over near the old Ago restaurant. So it's on Melrose and La Cienega. Great outdoor space. Beautiful restaurant. Great menu. So,
Great. What's the weirdest wellness thing that you've done? And weird is subjective, I know, in our space, but like most out of the box, unique that you're willing to admit on a podcast, at least.
uh, I do IV therapy, which I think a lot of people do. I've been doing exosomes,
Yeah.
which I have found like I do that, maybe 3 or 4 times a year, and I found the wellness benefit and the rejuvenation and the repair of that has been kind of one of the secret benefits that you wouldn't normally think of, right?
Yeah.
And but scheduling those IVs and getting that done is always a little bit of a challenge sometimes. So.
Yeah, for sure. Do you ever go to Starbucks? And if you go to Starbucks, what's your Starbucks order?
Um, I would say I love specialty coffee. Before I started Vital, I was going to go into specialty coffee. So when I go travel, I go someplace and you get on Google, rather than looking for a coffee shop, I always type in specialty coffee because that's kind of like code word for someone who is a connoisseur in coffee. And so I find these little things, but ultimately, like I either search for specialty coffee or V60, V60. And that tells me that these people have created a coffee and sourced probably the best quality in the world. And they do it through a single filter pour over coffee. And they make you an individual cup. And it's some of the best coffee in the world. And it tastes so great. And
Yeah.
a lot of people don't realize that a good coffee should taste acidic and floral and fruity and not like dark, rusty, dark and nutty and burnt, right? And so
Mm.
that's I always look for that light floral, light acidic coffee.
Great tips for people are in a new city or even in
Yeah.
the city that they're in and they want to like broaden
Yeah.
the quality of coffee. Great tips. Do you know the person?
I had a
Yeah,
guy,
go ahead.
just a side
Yeah,
note, I had a
yes.
guy in Paris. I was searching for specialty coffee and there was just a small like street like the guy rolls up a shed. You know, he has his building, but he rolls up this rolling door and he's serving some of the best coffee, but he's also a DJ. He's playing vinyl records while he's pouring you his coffee. And it's those types of shops I love to experience.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's so true. Do you know the personality type, the Enneagram? I ask this question a lot. Most people don't know, but I wanted to ask and see if you knew. Do you know what your Enneagram number is?
I know the four letters like
Oh, the
ENFJ is
Myers-Briggs. Yeah,
my
what's your give?
yeah,
Let's give that.
Myers-Briggs.
Yeah, what's that one?
So ENFJ, right? Which means, but I also flip E or I sometimes. So I is introvert, E is extrovert.
Hmm.
In business I'm extrovert, but sometimes then when I'm done working I'll become introverted, just kind of
Yeah.
recover. uh, uh, N is intuitive, F is feeling, and J is judging. And I think that fits me well because I you know, throughout my life, you know, I came up as an engineer, but I'm always an observer. I'm looking how things work and trying to figure out a better way,
Mm.
right? My mind is always thinking a better way. And I think
Yeah.
that's the J part of it as well.
Yeah.
And the N is the intuitive part of saying, you know what, there's a better way to do this. So
Yeah. It's interesting. Over the years, I started the first telehealth, functional medicine telehealth clinic. We've been doing this for 15, 16 years. And our top patient base, profession-wise, are engineers, entrepreneurs, nurses, and school teachers. We see a very high percentage of them. And I found they all have a common love of spreadsheets and getting to the root cause and like wanting to figure out like what's a better way. I'm not feeling well with their health, I mean, it's like if their numbers are off, like why is my numbers off? Why do I have this symptom? What's the root cause? And it's that engineer mind, I think, that all those professions can have. So it's interesting.
it's funny when my friends, like when we talk about like, hey, do we want to take a trip somewhere or where do we want to go to dinner? It's like, hold on, let me create a spreadsheet.
Yeah, it's this Excel spreadsheet for the win.
Yeah.
Last
Yeah.
question. What is a book? It could be fiction or nonfiction. I'm like having a running list for the Art of Being Well book club, but what's a book that you've read that's just been a was a paradigm shifter for you that should be at the top of our list?
So many. I mean, there's probably four, but I would say from a yeah, it's hard to give you one.
It could be any topic. Yeah, it could be really any topic. Just what comes to mind.
I I think this one thing, hold on, let me think of the name here. It's a longer name. It's called Radical Acceptance.
Got it.
Um, and what's amazing about that book is emotions. And so if you think about overall wellness, emotional state is one of them. And we experience a lot of different emotions in our lives, and you know a lot of times we don't fully understand this. Sometimes they're intense, sometimes they're hard to figure out. Radical acceptance really kind of wraps your thought around the emotions you have, and they show you that they're important and they're telling you something intuitively, and you should
Mm.
actually embrace that. And when you embrace it, then you can actually use that as a way of understanding what's important to you,
Yeah.
right? If you're passionate about wellness, right, you may have these emotions about missing a workout or something like that. and having that emotion shows you that, hey, this is something that's important to you. And so radical, she kind of takes you through this whole concept of how to interpret emotions and show you what's important to yourself. So
Great. Great. I can't wait. I'm adding it to my list for sure.
yeah, yeah.
My friend, this has been a rich conversation. Thank you so much. Where can people go to learn about the work that you're doing with She?
Yeah, so if you look at the website shelife.com or she.life, right? Sorry.
Yeah.
But also we're on Amazon. I know
Mhm.
like Amazon Prime Day is coming up here. You can read that and also read on our website as well.
Yeah. It's she.life. So SHII
Yep.
dot life. I have a special code for everybody. You can use Will Cole, code Will Cole for 15% off. But as you said, Amazon Prime Day's coming up. People should go
Yep.
to Prime. They're going to have amazing deals on Prime Day, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's like a 30% discount. I think it's October 8th and 9th. And we'll also get you set up with a code on that as well.
Amazing. I'll put it in the show notes, everybody. Um,
Okay.
Thanks so much, Kurt. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Will. Thanks for your time.